Okay, good. Bear with me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Make an Impact. There we are. We should be starting shortly here. Bear with me a moment. And just launching you guys on my iPad as well. I hope everybody's doing great. Bear with me just a moment while we get everything set up here. Hello, Thomas. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Jay. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling poorly. Get some rest, Jay. Sorry to hear that you're not feeling well. All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Oh, that's all right, Jay. Have yourself a good rest, and we love you tons, my friend. We love you tons. It's really great to see you here, and I hope you feel better really soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday, and it's great to have all of you here. I think we're just getting started. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show. And today we have a very unique show. Actually, I need to send out a blast. So bear with me just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Just realized we need to send out a blast so people know we're here. Hi, Chris. Welcome, Phyllis. All right, bear with me a moment and I'll make a blast here. Show now. Right. That way people know we're here. Okay, Chris, thank you for those gold stars. Thomas, thank you for the 100. Super hugs, Chris. It's great to have you here. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Phyllis. Today, we're really thrilled to have all of you here for this really special show that we're doing today, which is sharing about the long road to Sparta. So for those of you who've been tuning into my streams recently, you know that I'm a long distance runner and that I do a lot of very long races, going from anywhere from beyond marathons, 100-mile races, and beyond that to the most recent race, which is 153 miles from Athens to Sparta. And so today, we're going to use this as a chance to talk about how do we make an impact in the world, and some of the lessons that I've learned to get to the finish line in Sparta, and what I learned in this very long journey about what it takes to make an impact and what it takes to accomplish something like that. I know that there's a lot of people who think, oh, well, there must have been you just did some training and off you went. And so today our show is really about my own journey in getting to that finish line in Sparta. And my business partner and really close friend, Phyllis Santamaria, is going to be here with us today to talk us through. And we're going to have a conversation about that journey that I've been on. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with all of you who have been regular viewers of my stream for this long time. And it's really great to have all you here. So Rum, thank you for joining. New, thank you for the sun. Great to see you. Evie Possible, awesome to see you here. Thank you for joining today, Evie. It's brings me a lot of excitement to see you here. So today's show is Make an Impact. That is the name of our show. And our show is about how to make a difference to those around you. So today you will hear my story. I'm going to be interviewed by Phyllis Santamaria. And I will share with you my own journey. And through that, I'm hoping that not only will you learn from my own life lessons, but you may also start to recognize when others around you need your support or help. And sometimes people can't speak for themselves, or they don't have the wherewithal. You can be that beacon of light for them when they need it. So hopefully by my sharing my story with you today, you will see something for yourself, and you will see something in how you can make a difference in other people's lives as well. I'm really great and happy to see you, Evie. And so this is Phyllis Santa Maria, by the way, she'll be interviewing. But as always, we start with a song. And I'm going to begin with a song that I wrote called There's a Reason. And this is a song that helps remind us that for everything that happens in our life, there is a reason. Thank you for the favor, Jeff. Thanks for the sunshine. Lost in a strange new world, looking for a point of familiarity. Sometimes it seems as if we're alone as we search to find ourselves. It seems that life is full of adversity. It seems too often the best laid plans fall through. Sometimes it seems as if the tough times will never end. And we ask, why me? Why me? I believe there's a reason for the challenges that we face. I believe there's a reason for the choices that we have. I believe there's a reason for the people that we meet. I believe there's a reason for the events in our lives. Thanks, Chris. It's always a joy to have you here. So, my friend, expecting your light, there'll be fires that you have to walk through. That your life may not always be easy. That your struggles make you strong. I believe there's a reason for the challenges that we face. I believe there's a reason for the choices that we have. I believe there's a reason for the people that we meet. I believe there's a reason. I believe there's a reason for the challenges that we face. I believe there's a reason for the choices that we have. I believe there's a reason for the people that we need. I believe there's a reason. Oh, yeah, to find. 'Cause I believe in you. There's nothing you can't do. 'Cause I believe in you. Life is yours, so take control. 'Cause I believe in you. I believe anything is possible. I believe in you. Oh, 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 when you think that you can't make it through, I'll always be right here to help you. I believe there's a reason for the blessings in our lives. Blessings such as good friends, as you. Hey, Sammy. Great to have you here. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Today's show is Make an Impact, and our show is about how to make a difference to those around you. And for today's show, we're going to illustrate that by sharing my own story of my journey to Sparta. And my business partner and close friend, Phyllis, will be having a dialogue with me about that journey so that we can learn together some of the lessons that I learned on the way to the finish line in Sparta, and also for us to learn how you might spot that others might need your help. The others around you might need your help. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for us to learn both of those sides, both as someone who might need help and someone who might be able to give it. So I hope that today's conversation enlightens you into what it takes for all of us to make an impact with the people around us. And of course, we always conclude with diamond tips. But before we get into that, and this is, by the way, my business partner, Phyllis, she's going to be interviewing me in a moment. And actually, good idea if now you make the request for the guest box, Phyllis, if you haven't already. And there's me at the finish line in September in Sparta after running 153 miles. Hello, Nick. Great to have you here. 153 miles, 246 kilometers from Athens to Sparta, nonstop, and took me 35 hours and 36 minutes. But the journey to Sparta did not begin at the start line in Athens. The journey to Sparta began a long, long time before that. So to help us understand a bit more about what it takes to make a difference to those around us, we start by understanding this concept of a purpose mindset. And the purpose mindset is the attitude that you bring to everything you do. And as I reflect on my own journey, there were times when I was bringing a 3.0 mindset, and there were times when I was bringing other mindsets, which we'll talk about now. We say there are 3 levels to the mindsets that we have, the purpose mindset. And the first level is called the 1.0 I receive mindset, modeled off the internet. Whereas the beginning days of the internet, you would just go to a search engine and take whatever web pages you found and just consume the information off the internet. You just receive what you got. And if we're in a 1.0 mindset, we're just receiving whatever life's giving us, a bit like we're a passenger. We're focused on getting things done. We're oftentimes busy ticking boxes, trying to get our grades or our job sorted. And if we're a business or organization, if we're in this 1.0 I receive mentality, it means that we just focus on making a profit. We focus on just receiving the money and just giving our clients or customers whatever it is that we want to give them. So that's that 1.0 mindset. And it's okay for getting by and surviving, but it is a particular kind of life that can be a bit mundane. So if we want to upgrade our mindset to have a bit more fulfillment, a bit more excitement, a bit more engagement with our lives, then we go to 2.0, which is about participation. And the web 2.0, we were on social media collaborating with other people, talking back and forth, making content, receiving content. It was a participation. If we are 2.0 in our mindset, we're participating in our life. So rather than being in the passenger seat, just taking what life gives us, we see ourselves as in the driving seat, going places, making choices about where we want to go. We're goal-oriented. We're focused on results, being productive, and we think longer than our current job. We think about our resume, our CV, our career. If we're a business, we're thinking about our people. We're thinking about our customers, and that are we helping our customers to fulfill what they want? Are we helping our staff to fulfill what they want? This is our people-centric 2.0 participating mindset. That's the 2.0. And 2.0 is where a lot of great things happen. But where deep fulfillment occurs, where we really feel like our life is making a difference, is when we're at 3.0, this co-creation mindset. When the internet went to 3.0, we had things like Airbnb show up, which are these sort of community services where you have the host, the person offering the service, and the customer, the person taking advantage of the service, and they're both rating each other. They're both co-creating the whole experience online. And so this co-creation purpose mindset, it's purpose centric, and we see ourselves as the designer of our lives in this 3.0. We're not just driving on someone else's road, we create the whole experience. That means we're thinking strategically and we're taking ownership and we're focused on making a difference and the impact that we're having. As an organization, we're making a difference in the world. We're purpose centric, not just serving our customers and our people, but we're out to make some kind of difference in the world. That's a 3.0 way of thinking. And when we talk about a 3.0, that's where fulfillment happens. So as individuals, we can always explore some area of our life that isn't working as well as we like and consider what mindset are we bringing to that area. Are we bringing a 1.0 mindset, passenger mindset? It's that way because of someone else or something else, or there's nothing I can do, it's beyond my control. That's a 1.0 passenger mindset. If we're 2.0, we are thinking, it's up to me to make this happen. What can I do to respond to this? What are the results I'm producing? That's being in the driving seat, 2.0. So you can look at this area of your life that you're struggling with and see, am I 1.0, am I 2.0, or am I 3.0? Am I using this area that I'm struggling with? How can I attack it in a way that's fulfilling my purpose? How can I collaborate with others to make something else happen here than I saw was possible? What impact can I make here? That's the designer 3.0 mindset. So take a look at an area of your life. If you're on the stream at the moment, think of an area of your life that you are feeling some challenge in and ask yourself, am I being a 1.0 passenger? Or am I thinking like a 2.0 driver? Or am I 3.0 and being a designer in that area of my life? Type in the chat what you see yourself doing. Are you 1.0, 2.0, or 3.0? Peg, great to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Young Lord, welcome to the stream. 4.2 mindset. Okay. Hello, Steve-O. Great to see you, my friend. Lovely to have you here. All right. So type in the chat where you see yourself in any area of your life. Getting fit and losing weight is being 3.0 by changing habits on a long-term basis, Phyllis says. Great. Let's see. 2.5, Young Lord is. Great. Okay, good. That's great to see. You're in that driving seat looking for how you can be fulfilled, how you can be more purposeful in the work that you're doing. Well, some people have other ways to spend their time, and you could do that. That's one way to spend your life, but I probably would rate that activity relatively low on the 3.0 scale, I suggest. Right, I think we have someone who's got a lot of vocabulary there. So now we've talked about this 3.0 mindset. If we want to be 3.0, if we want to make an impact, we want to make a difference in the world, we have to get clarity of purpose. And it's really important to start with the idea of purpose. And if you were to look at a mug has a very simple purpose. A mug is a receptacle for hot beverages. You can put coffee or tea in it. But a mug can be used for other purposes as well. It can be used as a pencil holder. Now, whilst that is an okay use for the mug, it isn't what the mug was for. So you don't get to use the insulating properties or the handy handle. So it's important when we think about purpose as people is that we must declare what we want the world to use us for. And if we don't, then we could be used for other things and then wonder why we're not being used to our full potential. So it's an important thing to get clarity of purpose. And so how do we get that clarity of purpose? We do it by listing our fulfillments and frustrations. These are moments of fulfillment in our lives when we experience we're making a difference, we're making an impact in the world. And then we also look at our frustrations, those moments when we experience that something's wrong in the world, it's not okay with us that X happens in the world. Those are frustrations. And when we look at these two lists, there's a common link between the two lists. And the common themes between those two lists help us identify what matters to us and help us get clarity about what our purpose is, because our purpose talks when we're experiencing fulfillment, and our purpose is getting our attention when we're having those frustrations. Thomas, thank you very much for that. Hello, Rivana. Welcome to the stream, and thank you for the favorite. So why do we talk about this purpose-centric mindset and being purpose-centric? Because for a lot of us in workplaces, we find that the enterprise, the business we're working in, may oftentimes talk about a lofty goal of making a big impact in the world. But our day-to-day experience as employees, that bottom arrow might represent how we feel or the difference we're making in our work. So that gap represents our chance to make a difference. We call it the impact opportunity. That is where your fulfillment lives. So a lot of times people think they have to go far-flung places or do something charitable in order to experience fulfillment and make an impact where they are. But what we help you understand is that by having clarity of purpose, you can make a difference right now, wherever you are, with whatever work you do. And that's the importance of getting clarity of purpose. Now today, we're going to talk about how my journey as from getting to the finish line in Sparta all the way back to 2001 when I first came to the UK. We're going to share about the journey I've been on, the mindset that I was bringing at different points in my life, and the lessons that I learned along the way, so that you can learn from my mistakes and learn from my journey how you can tackle challenges you're facing in your own life. Hello, Papa Smurf. Welcome to the stream. All right. So, Phyllis, if you haven't requested the box, please do. And I'm going to excuse me for a moment while I get Phyllis in the box. Hello, Phyllis.
Hi there, Gabe. And hello,
welcome.
Everyone. Hi.
You're looking great there, Phyllis.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We can hear you well. Great.
Good.
So I'm just going to move you to another screen so I can see you here. Very good. And then make this big again. So before I go through a process of letting you interview me, let's start by allowing you, Phyllis, to introduce yourself to everybody on the stream. Hi, Alice.
Right. Well, I was on the stream a couple of weeks ago and gave a run through of my life and some of the lessons that I've learned. In fact, I called it the 11 lessons for loving life. So just very briefly about myself, I'm originally from Texas, and I've worked in a lot of different fields, including international development and education, as well as at the BBC with pioneering interactive multimedia, and also a career in interactive multimedia, designing programs in that. And also working with what's called banking for the poor, microfinance. And with Gabriel, we've been working together with offering our courses, and it's now called the Social Impact Game. And I'm business partners with Gabriel and also a very good friend. And I'm really honored to be interviewing him today. And we've spent quite a bit of time looking at what the lessons are that got him across the finish line at Sparta.
Great, thank you, Phyllis. And so what I'm going to do is I think we will start with looking at the timeline, dating all the way back to the real beginning of the journey. For those of you who know me already, you know I'm a runner. But before I do that, I know that you wanted to start with a bit of introductions, Phyllis. So I'll let you start with your first question, which is sort of an introduction question before we go to the timeline.
Okay, Gabe. As I've said, I'm from Texas, and I know you're from Texas too. And I also know a bit about your background, about how you're the first in your family to do certain things. Could you tell us a little bit about your background in Texas and your education?
So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. And I was, my mother and my father separated when I was about 12. So my mom was working 3 or 4 jobs while I was taking care of my sisters. And our family, of course, like many families, was struggling growing up. So I studied really hard because I knew that I wanted to go places in life and it wanted to be beyond where I was at the time growing up. And so as a result of being really active in high school, I ended up getting a partial scholarship and full financial aid to go to university. And I was indeed the first person in my family to go to university. And so I did that in Massachusetts, studied electrical engineering and computers with a minor in music. And I started my career in consulting. What was then Anderson Consulting became Accenture later. And so that was in Boston, and I stayed in Boston until I came to the UK in 2001.
Right. And I think when you were at university, you did do a major project I think it was in your third year of university. Could you just say a little bit about that project?
Sure. My family actually has a little bit of Native American heritage, and my mom was really passionate about the Native Americans, and in particular, the Native Americans in the Four Corners region of the United States. And as a songwriter, I was writing music since I was 12. And my dream was to produce a CD of my original music. So I got a bunch of friends together, about 50 friends of mine. I wrote a bunch of songs and we recorded in the middle of the night, 50 hours in total in a recording studio. We pre-sold the CDs and to raise the money for financing the CDs. And then we sold them afterwards and raised money to help the artisans in the Four Corners regions to get a little bit of a fairer wage for their work. So that was my first sort of social impact project. We talk about social impact projects in our work in the social impact game. That was my first social impact project.
And I think as a result of that, you got a lot of job offers. You thought people were interested in you because of your degree in electrical engineering and computing. But what did it turn out that they were actually interested in when you got the job offers?
Yeah, when I graduated, I was given 7 job offers, which was pretty exciting. And I ended up getting job offers from technical companies that had turned away people who made higher grades than me or did better in the interview because they liked that I had the practical skills of making something happen through producing this CD for charity.
Right. Yes. So that propelled you to working for a top-rate consultancy. And I think we can now go to the timeline.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you were working in Boston, Massachusetts, and they found that they had a need for your services in London, I believe.
Yes. Here we go. So for those who have never seen this little tool, this is called Miro. We use this in our social impact game. And there's our little timeline.
Right. Now, can you magnify it a little bit, Gabe? Zoom.
There we go. Is
So,
that legible to everyone? Tommy, thank you very much for the favorite. I appreciate that. Alice, great to have you here. Euphoria, wonderful to have you here. Ryan, thank you very much. Good morning to you. Cam, lovely to see you, my friend. And so can you see that clearly?
Well, I think you could even zoom it a bit more. There we go. So the first big step was that you were invited by Accenture to come working in London, and so you were commuting between Boston and London. How long did that go on for?
So I did that for 2 years, and it was really fun being an expat. New country, and I found myself falling in love with working and living over here. And so when they did give me the chance to come to the UK in 2003, I jumped at it. And
Okay.
it was really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also at that time you decided you're going to do your first marathon. This is the start of the journey to Sparta, everyone.
Yeah, so for those who are just tuning into the show, this show is called Make an Impact. And today we're talking about my journey to the finish line of a 153-mile race from Athens to Sparta. And the theme of this show is how do we make an impact with our lives? Thank you, Matthew. And one of the things that Phyllis and I have discovered, and I'm sure you guys have discovered, is that sometimes it's easy to see people who have accomplished something as having had a relatively straightforward journey to that finish line. And so Phyllis and I thought it'd be a great opportunity today to share with you what my journey's been like so that together we could learn the lessons of my journey and learn how also we can help others in their journey. And because it is a running event, the first sort of milestone you see there in purple, as Phyllis just highlighted, is the Silicon Valley Marathon, which is my very first marathon. And it wasn't fun. I went to my first marathon and I started running because I thought you're going to look real buff when you cross the finish line, have six pack and look all strong and gorgeous. The truth of it is you don't look like that when you cross the finish line. It's nothing like that. And I remember it being a horrible experience from the half marathon moment on. I was struggling and suffering all the way to the finish line. It took me 4 hours and 43 minutes to finish the race. And I was just so exhausted. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. This is horrible. I don't want to do this anymore. So I stopped running. And
what's the lesson then, Gabe?
yeah, so the first lesson to take away is don't let your first experience stop you. For those who've just tuned in, I've just mentioned that I did a 153-mile race a couple of weeks ago from Athens to Sparta. But I finished my first marathon pretty sure I was never going to do another one. So don't let your first experience stop you.
Yeah. We can also apply that to relationships and a lot of other things.
That's right. That's right. Matthew, it's great to have you here, my friend. Euphoria, thank you very much for the favorite. Raz, thank you for the star.
So let's move on let's move on to the next, right? So the next thing was, what is the thing up there in red?
Well, just before that, in 2007, I stopped running, as I mentioned, came to the UK, and I did what a lot of people do is you sit at your desk, you eat a lot of food, and you don't do much exercising. And I started to become overweight. So in 2007, I said, I need to do something about this. So I started running again and training for a marathon. But I did not get to go and do that marathon because in red, you see there, I had a house fire. I woke up and my bed was on fire. And how that happened was a space heater that I had plugged in, busted overnight, set the room alight, and it was thanks to a battery that was near the radiator, near the desk, near the radiator. It popped like a firework. And that woke me up in time for me to get out of bed and only burn my fingers. So I lost everything. I didn't have insurance or anything. So I lost absolutely everything I had. I was literally, the only clothes I had were the clothes they give you in the ambulance, which are just random clothes they've collected from other people. And that's what I had after the fire.
Right. And so what was the lesson from, well, the lesson before that was that you started running, but you didn't get to do the marathon. But the lesson when you started running because you were overweight is to take the first step.
Yeah, definitely to take that first step.
Right.
And after the fire, one of the things that, it's not up there as a lesson, but one of the things on reflection that I realized recently was that I bounced back very quickly from the fire in my life because I had a huge community of people around me. Yeah. I was leading seminars on a voluntary basis for an organization, and they were all behind me and supporting me. I had places to stay. I had a lot of support network around me during that time. Yeah. But also because I had the fire, it literally opened my eyes to things that were acceptable before were no longer acceptable for me. I could no longer put up with a whole bunch of things, including being dissatisfied at work. Yeah. Found myself having a hard time concentrating and a hard time putting up with being unhappy at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned this next lesson, which was to listen to my heart and to my purpose, because I wasn't fulfilling it at that time, and I didn't see how to fulfill it in the workplace. I tried different things and it didn't work out, and then I finally realized I need to go and do my own thing. And so I left that 10-year job and started out on my own.
Right. So you started working on your own, and if we move on just a little bit more. And lo and behold, you also got into running again. So what's that purple thing up there? I know it's something to do with the marathon.
Yeah, so in 2009, May 2009, I did get back into running. I let go of the past and I created something new, because not only did I take a marathon on finally, letting go of the past that was that horrible experience, but also I had not been in touch with my dad or seen my dad in 20 years. But in the lead up to this marathon, I had reconciled with my dad, and I arranged that he would come down and watch me run this race in California. He came down from Montana, which is a different state.
Well, that's a
And
long distance.
a very, very long way. And it was a really compelling experience to see my dad for the first time in 20 years and realize we had so much in common. Even though I hadn't seen him in so long, we had a lot of similarities, and we got along really well. It was a really amazing and magical experience, that letting go of that past and creating something new.
Right.
Now, one of the things I discovered when I was working on my own is that there's a limit to what one can do on their own. And I actually went to your course, Phyllis. At the time, I was doing a project with the president of East Timor. And Phyllis mentioned earlier that she was doing a course in microfinance, which is a way of including people who are poor in the financial system. And so Phyllis was offering courses on how to do that. And I was taking one of Phyllis's courses, and through that process, found ways that we could make a bigger difference with the project we were doing in East Timor. But because of that experience, Phyllis and we collaborated together to found Learning Without Borders, to combine my coaching and my consulting of people in small businesses and people in their careers with the course delivery and international development work that Phyllis had been doing. And so we co-founded Learning Without Borders in 2011.
And that's when you also started getting back into doing, well, is that when you did your first ultra marathon?
So you and I were working together, and
Yes.
we were doing different projects. And then both of us started to discover we can go further than we can imagine. So two major things happened at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
First, we were delivering programs in China in 2013,
Yes.
2014.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's definitely that you can go farther than you imagine. And we went to China working with fintech companies, that's financial technology companies for microfinance. And we made 5 trips to China in 1 year, well, over the span of 1 year. And unfortunately, we didn't get to carry on for various reasons. We had chosen a marketing partner, and it didn't quite work out after we had been really successful, and they wanted us to take our courses across China. And also, I think, Gabe, you had a personal issue as well that was upsetting for you.
Yeah, so I did this ultra, was like, we can go farther than you imagine. And then the next year, that work ends that we were doing together in China. Because as you heard Phyllis say just now, it didn't go according to plan, like often happens in business. But also a long-term relationship that I was in ended after 6 years, abruptly. And at that stage, a lot of things ended all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I also left the house that I had lived in and moved somewhere else. and lived, you know, needed to build another part of the community. So one of the things that I did is running was my passion, one of my passions in my spare time. So I joined the Advent running community, because being a part of a community is one way to not feel alone and to bounce back when you feel that you're disconnected from others. And so that was a lesson I learned. Joining that community helped me continue with my running and build that back up again, so that I could do the Grand Union Canal Race, which is a race from Birmingham to London, 145-mile race. Now you see this bit in red because during this time period, I was still working on my own. So after our work in China kind of fell flat on its face because we had a partnership that didn't go as we expected, we both in our business, we're like, okay, let's just focus on individual clients, which I was doing. But in working on my own, things weren't going well. So I managed to get to the finish line of that race in Grand Union Canal. But from there on, in my work life, I found myself struggling to get new clients. I wasn't marketing well. Things weren't going well. And I started to think, oh, God, I'm a failure here. I'm a coach. I'm supposed to be great at all this stuff, and I'm not succeeding. So I don't know if any of you have had this in your life where you're supposed to be successful, you know everything you're supposed to know, and you're not successful for some reason. And then you're embarrassed, because I was embarrassed. I'm not successful. I can't let anyone know. And so I continued to struggle. And until in 2016, during that time, I started to find it more difficult to get new coaching clients. I was undercharging coaching clients so that I could get them to buy more programs, to have some immediate cash to pay for my bills, like rent. And as time went on, I struggled to even make that work because I was undercharging, but I was still working a lot. So I wasn't making enough money to make ends meet, but I was still doing a lot of work, which means I didn't have any extra time to try and go get more work. And it became an impossible equation because I didn't value myself. I saw myself as a failure. And the impact of that is eventually I didn't have enough money to pay the bills. I'd ignore the phone calls. I'd ignore the letters. I don't know if anybody has ever been in that situation who's in the stream, but I was in that space. And then eventually I didn't make rent for the umpteenth time, and the landlord put a note on the door saying out in 24 hours. So I took everything from inside my house, put it in boxes, and I put it out in front of a charity shop, and basically lost most everything I had, except for what I could fit into a large suitcase and a backpack. And that's what I held on to. And at that point, I had lost my home in September 2016 and found myself vacillating between rough sleeping in a open mall in East London called Stratford Centre. And every now and again, I would get a payment from an existing client. I still had a few clients. That was my tether to something that was me. And I used some of that money to pay for a few nights in a hostel. Then I'd be back in Stratford Centre. And during this time, I was still feeling like a failure, and had ideation thoughts of ending my time on the planet. It was a really difficult time, a really dark time. And so, if any of you have ever been through these moments or noticed someone's going through these moments, it can happen to anyone. I had all these skills, all these life skills. I had a strong network, but I was afraid to tap into it because I'd already borrowed money for people, didn't pay them back. I had all of these obligations, and I just felt like there was no way I would ever come out of it. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't see my way out. And that carried on until I sat down in a meeting in December. I had a client meeting, and she noticed that I wasn't okay. And she asked me, Gabe, what we're going to stop my coaching session and I want to take you out for pizza on me. And I want you to tell me what's going on with you. Because she could see it in my face, even though I hadn't said anything. I sat down with her at the pizza place across from Charing Cross Station. I still remember Pizza Express. And she was interrogating me, and I finally broke down and gave her the whole history of everything I'd been through over these last couple of years and what I hadn't been telling people, and that I was sleeping rough in Stratford some days and sleeping in hostels the other days. And her wife had died of cancer, and she had a spare room. And this client said, "You'd help me get my business to the point where it was so successful that I could take time out to take care of my dying wife for a full year, because my business was carrying on. And that was because you're coaching. And now it's my turn to help you out. I have a spare room. I have an empty house. Please come stay and get back on your feet." And so my friend helped me get on my feet. And the lesson that I learned through that was to be open about where we are, to be open about where you are, be open about where I am. That was a really important life lesson, because when we do that, something opens up. People can actually help you with what you really need when you tell the whole story. So just going to look at some of the comments here. Oh, thanks, Alice. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind. Tastic, I'm glad that you are finding our stream. We're happy to have you here. And HP wants to be rich. Well, be rich by connecting with others in your life and sharing where you are. And HP, thank you very much for that favorite. And thank you very much for that kind words, Sam. All right, so with that help, then a mutual friend of Phyllis and mine, Phyllis introduced me to a wonderful woman in her church. And she had a room in her flat, and that ended up being where I live to this day, quite happily and wonderfully. And so in September 2017, I went from having into a place of being able to pay my own rent, having more business coming in. I was getting back on my feet because I began collaborating again. And it really does take a team to make an impact in the world.
Yeah. Yes, that's when we started working together again.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, through a conversation that Gabriel had.
Thank you, TL. Thank you. It's a very strong bunny. Thank you.
Right. I just want to stop and say that thank you, Gabe, for sharing that story, because I know when you told me afterwards what your situation had been and you hadn't shared it, because of course many of us would have helped you sooner. Mm-hmm. But I guess it was something that you had to go through to and then to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. and to be open. And as you said in your song, our struggles do make us stronger in many ways. And it also makes us realize that when we do something, it's because other people have helped us to do it. There's no such thing as a self-made person.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. If you ever meet someone and they tell you they've made it all on their own, that they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and all of that, they're not recognizing all the people that contributed them all through their lives. And I think that's an important message. If you feel like you have to do it on your own, you're actually missing the point. Yeah. How anything of significance is done in the world, it's done with others. It's done in collaboration with others. It's done in teams. We do things together as communities. And so you never have to be on your own. And if you pretend to be on your own, which is like I was doing, you'll find it really difficult and could put yourself, like I did, in very difficult circumstances. But it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. So it's a really important lesson to have learned. Mm-hmm. So by April 2018, I decided it's time to get back into running now that I have my home handled. I live somewhere. I did the London Marathon as a way to kickstart my running without training.
No training at all.
Without training, one advantage of having done a lot of running overall over those years before was that I had sort of some ability to pick up running in my legs, but it did hurt. So don't recommend it. Mr. Miami, thank you very much. And I've-tastic, thank you very much for the favorite. And then, so again, I'm collaborating with Phyllis, and we're building our business and working with clients. And in parallel with that, of course, my running is also mirroring that success, and that I run that 100-kilometer race that started off my ultra career, and I run it again with a new best time of 10.5 hours, which is a really good time for 100 kilometers, which is 62 miles. And then a couple months later, I do the Berlin Wall 100-mile race in 20 hours and 6 minutes, which qualifies me for the bucket list race I'd been wanting to do for years, which was the Spartathlon. So that was in August of 2018. And then in March of 2019, Phyllis and I connected with the University of Nottingham. And through developing what we call the social impact game with the university, it was a great opportunity because we saw that students needed clarity and direction for their lives, not just people who were mid-career. And in doing that, I think we, as Learning Without Borders, really connected with our purpose as an organization. And both Phyllis and I'm speaking for you, Phyllis, you can confirm for us yourself, but I felt like I connected with my purpose in a whole new way by building the social impact game and putting that forward.
Yes, and we went through a process of consulting at the university and finding out that there was a gap in what the students were receiving at university in terms of ways to build their confidence and also to develop their employability skills, and also for them to connect with their purpose for designing and building their careers. And we did focus groups with students, and they told us about what their main concerns were. And we found out that these were concerns that were a lot like the professionals that we had been working with as well. And one of those chief things was, how can I make an impact with my work throughout my life?
Yes.
Because that is such a strong drive, a motivation, an innate motivation that all of us have to leave the world a better place than what we have found, how we have found it. And it's through making this social impact. And so we attracted people to our course. A lot of them, interestingly, were what you call widening participation students. In other words, they're the first ones in their families to go to university. And what we were offering with the social impact game resonated with them because they also wanted to make a difference with their work. And they also realized that they needed ways that they could build their confidence. And well, I'll let Gabe carry on about the social impact game and how that also mirrored that you really got back into your running.
Yeah, for sure. And
also, I just wanted to add one thing, is that I just before the social impact game started in September 2019, I got attacked by a dog in California. It was quite horrendous. I was in hospital for 8 days and had to have an operation as well when I came back. But because we had planned things so well and because we worked as a team, then we were able to carry on with the social impact game. Yes, I was able to participate, but it just shows you how you need a team to make something happen as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we were able to be resilient as a business during that time when half the core team was missing. And we had built that foundation, having worked together all that time, and that allowed us to be ready in September when we launched the social impact game at the university. And in that same year, 2019, I did 3 ultra marathons. Um, from Birmingham to London, Bristol to London, and Liverpool to Leeds, 145-mile races, and the last one being a 130-mile race, all spaced a little more than a month apart. And so that was a pretty incredible feat. It's called the Canal Slam. And that was my biggest running achievement at that point. So as Phyllis mentioned, my running is really taking off. We delivered the Social Impact Game in our first year, and we won an award for being the module of the year at the University of Nottingham for their Nottingham Advantage Award. And that was really exciting and compelling. But the reason we were doing that is because we built a community. We built that community at the University of Nottingham. We connected with the local community through the projects, and the students felt like they were a part of a community. And it was for that reason that people felt compelled to nominate and then vote for us. And the rigor that we brought to it, to actually measuring the impact the students were making with their social impact projects. So that was a really exciting time. And around that time, after the first social impact game in May, I joined here, Meet Me. Got to meet some of you folks. And for those who are just tuning in, welcome to Make an Impact. This is our show about how to make a difference with our lives and how to make a difference to those around you. And Phyllis and I, Phyllis is my business partner, and we're talking about my life journey and the long road that led to the finish line of a 153-mile race from Athens to Sparta in Greece. So we're in the middle of talking about that and the main life lessons that have come up along the way, from surviving a fire to being homeless and to building a community and collaborating, and the necessity of working with others and being open about where we are. So thank you, Sammy. And Ivtastic, thank you very much. Hello, Johnny. Welcome to the stream. So here we are. We're streaming on Meet Me, and then I raised some money, and COVID hits, as you guys will know. COVID hit in 2020, and we were all stuck in our houses most of the time. I was beginning my streaming life here with you folks, and at the same time, I was beginning to come around with, recognizing the impact that having been homeless and some of the lessons I learned. So I started sharing about that in June 2020 and used that sharing as an opportunity to raise money for St. Martin's in the Fields Connection homeless charity. So I ran 100 miles. We raised some money for them. But at the same time, the COVID impact on the university meant that they didn't have funding for the next year's social impact game. So what we did is we learned to be unstoppable. And we continued delivering the social impact game at the University of Nottingham, deferring any fees in some commercial way for the future. We wanted to continue to deliver the social impact game to the students at the university, a bit of a scaled down version, so that we could continue to develop the program and continue to help students make an impact. And I think us being unstoppable there is the reason that what we're doing today with the social impact game is taking off. Yeah. Because that second year is when we solidified our understanding of what it takes to deliver a program that helps people make the difference they want to make with their lives. GL, thank you so much for those stars. Fantastic, thank you for the favorites. So, and then we are delivering the social impact game, and I carry on this year, doing some more running, getting stronger, and did the Thames Path 100 mile. Then I raised money again for the homeless charity in June this year. Phyllis, it was a virtual race, so Phyllis and my friend John were crewing. Phyllis's house was my aid point, and every 10 kilometers or so I'd go there and eat some rice pudding, cheese, water, and so forth, and carried on. And I covered the most miles I'd ever covered in 24 hours, which is 107 miles. And I won my first trophy. Because I ran more miles than anyone else who was running that virtual race. So that was pretty cool.
And then, of course, I had done a bit of crewing for Gabriel on the first virtual marathon he did, or ultra marathon he did. But I can just tell you that having to stay up for 24 hours alone, much less running, is just so incredible. You just can't believe how difficult it is. And I would say that Gabe was unstoppable. We weren't just unstoppable about delivering the social impact game, but he was also unstoppable. And also, I think unstoppable with the streaming, which is why I think that you've been invited to have this regular streaming show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's also thanks to Matthew, who was during this time helping me to build my own confidence, and he saw the possibility and value of what we do, and Chris Casper, who saw the value and possibility and the usefulness of what we do here on this show to make a difference with as many people on Meet Me as we can, or whatever platform you are joining the stream from.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the Spartathlon happened, 153 miles. And the journey was tough. And the lesson I learned is to continue, even when it looks like it won't happen. There were moments, and I'll swap over to this slide so you can see some pictures from the Spartathlon.
And make the point there that because on the Spartathlon, they have to reach the checkpoint by a certain time. And at one point, Gabe, unfortunately, the food wasn't working for him. He wasn't getting enough food, wasn't getting enough energy. And he had just 7 minutes to get to this checkpoint. And he managed to make it, it was like so tight, 7 minutes. And then he carried on because he got the rice pudding, which is the secret. He got the rice pudding. He got fueled up again. And I know someone who's a running coach said he has never seen anyone be that close to missing a checkpoint and finishing the race. Because that was at checkpoint 60, wasn't it, Gabe?
Yeah, 60 out of 75.
He had 15 more checkpoints to go. So he had to really kick in and make up for the lost time. Because unless a runner finishes the race in under 36 hours, they don't get anything. If you do it in 36 hours and 10 minutes, no good. No good. So I'll just hand it back to you, because this is really being unstoppable. Even though you think with just 7 minutes, you think, oh no, there's no way I'm going to make that.
Yeah, so that you can see on the left there, is this route that goes all the way from Athens all the way down to Sparta in Greece. And this second picture, you can see if you look closely, I don't have a happy expression on.
I don't think
so on the second day.
Yeah, people can't really see that, but
oh, right.
we can just imagine.
Yeah, I was told I didn't say a single word. Wouldn't even grunt. Had blank stares, and it just kind of an empty vessel trying to move along. Can't see the map, it's blurred. Thanks, Sammy. Sorry about that. And so one of the things, as Phyllis was saying, when I was 7 minutes away from the cutoff, I was certain there was no way on God's green earth I was going to get to the finish line of this race. There's about 30 or 35 miles to go at checkpoint 60.
Another marathon.
Yeah, more than a marathon.
How many marathons is the Spartathlon? How many marathons?
In total, it's 6 marathons.
We had the last marathon to do.
Yeah, more than the last marathon to do. So it was pretty intense to still have to go that far. I was certain there was no way I was going to make it in time, because I wasn't going to have more energy and I wasn't going to feel better and then gain time. But I did. I refueled, and there were some downhills, took advantage of those and made the most of it and gained some time back. And I finished in 35 hours and 36 minutes. So I gained a fair amount of time back on that route down to Sparta. And I got to the finish line, earned the medal, and the medallion they give you at the finish line. So here you go. This is the medallion they give you at the finish line. and then they give you a medal after the at the award ceremony.
Yeah. As Alice is saying in the comments that you made us cry when you passed the finish line. I was crying now.
So it was a real victory, but I think the reason we thought to share it here in the show is because it was more than a victory of getting to that finish line. Because what I didn't mention earlier is I had qualified to be in the Spartathlon back in 2016. But because I was in that downward spiral of not being able to afford and eventually became homeless, I couldn't afford the flights to get to Sparta or get to Athens. And so I was scheduled to be part of the team on the Spartathlon team in 2016. But I did, instead of showing up to the start line in Athens, I was showing up to Stratford Center as a homeless person. So that is why crossing the finish line in Sparta represented a lot more than completing an extremely difficult race. It represented completing a major phase of my life. And I mentioned earlier, I owed a lot of people and was indebted to a lot of people. And in the lead up to the Spartathlon, I'd made arrangements that all those people have been made whole, which was another achievement that got me to the start line of the Spartathlon, thanks to the support of my network and the people around me. So, you know, it's been it was a really significant arrival to that finish line, way beyond finishing the specific race. It represented completing a major phase of my life that had been a real struggle for a very long time. Yeah.
And I just want to say, Gabe, that I really appreciate your telling the story, because as we've said before, a lot of people don't realize when someone's looking confident, you know, like you're playing your music and all that, don't realize the things that other people go through, and why it's so important for us to reach out to others, and also to be compassionate with our friends, and in supporting them. And this shows you as well that sometimes you can make a social impact just with another person, and that has tremendous ripples throughout that other person's life.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see in the right-hand picture, there's two of us there. Oh, you can't really see it because I think maybe Phyllis's head is in the way. But and in the picture that is, you can only see part of, there's a picture of me and Ellis there. Ellis was my crew. I'll see if I can make it so you can see Ellis. Let me just make it.
I think you move it over.
Yeah, I'm just going to move this picture over so you guys can see it. There you go. I want you to see Ellis. There's Ellis there. And Ellis was it was critical to my success and my getting to the finish line. And I mentioned that I was in that moment when I was doubting my possibility of ever getting to the finish line, but Ellis always believed in me all the way to the finish. And he was like, "You got this, get over this hill, and you've got this." And I was certain it wasn't possible, but I just says, "Well, I'm going to keep trying." Ellis says to keep going, and so I will. So even in the Spartathlon, you have crew, and he stayed up for the whole 36 hours, longer than that, of course, before and after, but driving all the way from Athens to Sparta, being my crew, giving me food when I needed it, helping me along. Well, when he was allowed to, that is, because he's not allowed to all the way through. And being a voice of support and reminding me that I can do it, and that it was more than just physical. He says, "You've got it in, your body can do it. You just have to be resolved in your brain that you're going to." And it was really thanks to Ellis's continued support. Just like all of us, we need that crew, we need that community, and Ellis was being that. And of course, the friends and family who were on my WhatsApp group supporting me. He was reading all the messages people were sending me on WhatsApp throughout that time as well. So having that, all those people were there with me, even as I was running. and many parts of it all on your own. But you have that whole community behind you, and that gives you the strength to carry on and find yourself to the finish line.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the last lesson, is you can make it even though you don't think you can.
Yes. Yes. And thank you very much, Phyllis. I appreciate you being here to help me share my story of that journey to Sparta. Thank you so much.
And living your purpose by doing the Spartaculon. It's
Yeah,
an expression of your purpose.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I'm here to help people make an inspiring impact with their work and lives. And that is what we are in. That's what we're up to here. So thank you for all those who joined our stream today as well. And always give a diamond tip at the end. And my invitation to anyone who's a streamer on here is to ask yourself, are you sharing your own life lessons, what you're learning in your life, to contribute to the people in your stream? You know, how can you be purpose centric? How can you use your streams to make a positive difference to the people who come into your stream? Thomas, we love you too. Sammy, thank you very much for being here. Fantastic. Thank you for the follow and appreciate the comments. Thank you so much. And Sammy, thank you again. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate that. GL, appreciate all those gifts. It's really, really kind of you. I appreciate you a lot. You're an amazing streamer, and really appreciate you being here with us. And let's see here. Who else? Yeah, girly girl. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see who else have we left off here. Thomas talked about going up over the mountain, and Alice likes rice pudding. I actually don't normally like rice pudding, but during a race, it's critical food. It's really funny.
We discovered
Yeah, so for everyone who's been here today, thank you very much. Appreciate all of you, all the comments. Evie was here, and Evie is now live. That's great. We love Evie. And Fantastic teaches people how to design their own story. That's great. Raz, thank you very much for being here. And I hope that my sharing my story has inspired and supported you and given you some insights. And we love you too, Alice. Thank you so much. So thank you all for joining our stream today. Phyllis, thank you very much for being our guest today. And I look forward. We're going to see you guys all again at 12 noon Eastern time on Tuesday next week for another episode of Make an Impact, where we'll have an exciting guest. And we'll be talking about how you too can make a difference to those around you. At noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. California time, and 5 p.m. London time on Tuesday. See you next week, same bad time, same bad channel. And thank you all for being here with us today.
midnight in the Philippines.
Yeah, in the Philippines, it's midnight. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all of you. Have a good day.